Hey everyone, it's Triple Mango Threat or Ashley, and today I want to talk about a cool new Mardu commander that cares about when creatures are attacking, so let's jump right into it. This is a really cool commander that says if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So the Titans are perfect for this. Grave Titan, Inferno Titan, and Sun Titan. When they attack, we get triggered abilities, which normally are good, and having them be triggered twice is even more awesome. There's a lot of hate on Grave Titan from a more competitive or focused standpoint. I disagree with this because even without the two triggers coming from our commander, this is really cool to me. You get two 2/2 zombies when it attacks or enters the battlefield, but we're just focused on the attacking part. It's a 6/6 with Death Touch as well. This is no mere creature to look down on. There's also Inferno Titan, which is another great 6/6 giant. It says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. So instead of 3 damage, we can now deal 6. And this can seem a bit weaker, but 6 damage can take out some creatures, or even dealing an opponent 6 damage is something worth considering. Sun Titan, this is the last giant we can use in the cycle. It says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is a great card, and getting 2 permanents with CMC 3 or less is way powerful. A lot of players use this to help themselves ramp, so for example they would use fetch lands. Play them, crack them, and then use Sun Titan to grab the fetch land back from the graveyard to the battlefield, rinse and repeat. This can be useful in decks that don't get to ramp as well as green, so with a little more effort we can have a similar effect. Hissing Miasma, Blood Reckoning, and Marchesa's Decree. Whenever a creature attacks us, the creature's controller loses 1 life, or now with our commander, the creature's controller loses 2 life. I personally find these cards very boring, which you may find them interesting, and that's completely fine. If I were to build this deck, I would not choose these. I really like the idea of our creatures doing something, for example, making tokens, Hero of Bladeheld or Leonin Warleader. Whenever these creatures attack, we get to make tokens, and I love this because we're now getting twice the amount of tokens with our commander. So 4 creatures whenever we attack with one of them. Wow. Combat Calligrapher. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, that attacking player gets a tap 2/1 white-black Inkling creature token with flying that's attacking that opponent. So with our commander, they get 2 Inklings that are attacking that opponent. This is super cool and encourages players to hit each other and not us. Also, they get to keep their Inklings, which means more triggers later on. Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if we're the defending player, we get to create a 3/3 red ogre creature token unless they pay 3 mana. So a total of 6 mana our opponents will have to pay to stop us from making 2 3/3 ogres. There is no way players are paying 6 mana for this. They don't even pay 1 for Rhystic Study, so I'm guessing I could just get away with making 2 3/3 ogres, which sounds great. Delina Wild Mage. This would be really cool in the deck because it already encourages making tokens whenever it attacks. And we're going to be getting more opportunities with this, and that's exactly how I would want to build this deck. Sky Knight Vanguard. Whenever it attacks, it creates a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking, and that becomes 2 1/1s with our commander for 2 mana, and making 2 extra creatures is really good. And since we're making all these creatures, Mentor of the Meek would be a great way to start drawing cards. Now, red doesn't exactly let us draw cards, but it lets us exile them. For example, Etali Primal Storm. Whenever Etali Primal Storm attacks, we exile the top card of each player's library, and then we can cast any number of spells among them without paying their mana costs. Again, another great way to take advantage of our commander's awesome ability. Bomat Courier. Still talking about red's exiling, we can exile 2 cards whenever we attack with this, later paying 1 red to get them back to our hand. Chaos Channeler. We're going to exile the top card of our library, and then we can play them this turn. Moving on to black, there's Cunning Rhetoric. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or 1 or more planeswalkers you control, exile the top card of that player's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. Wow. I personally like to cast my opponent's cards, so this works perfect for me. Audacious Thief. Whenever it attacks, we draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Guilt Feeder. It has fear, and whenever it attacks and it isn't blocked, defending player loses 1 life for each card in their graveyard. This could be a complete flop of a card, but if our opponents are playing a graveyard deck, we could end up dealing a lot of damage. Definitely a card to think about. You could build this into an Eldrazi themed deck, but I don't recommend that if your playgroup isn't a fan of Annihilator, because now we're going to double the Annihilator, which is already oppressive. Again, this is something to talk about with your playgroup. My only problem with this commander is that there isn't much support for it right now. I found around 40 cards with a quick search of whenever this creature attacks, and 40 cards is not enough for a commander deck, and this is even including the lands, which on average could be 37. So we would have around 77 cards for the deck. My hope is that Kamigawa Neon Dynasty gives us more support for this commander, or even the future sets for this year. Let me know your thoughts of this commander in the comments down below, and thank you to the patrons who help support this channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.